the Space Age Challenge. This one isn't so interesting in terms of the math, because the math is going to be really easy. We're just going to divide our years by this factor here, by this change, right? But the cool thing about this is how we can refine our function over time. Okay. Again, this is a exorcism.org challenge. So I've taken this code and I've moved it over to CodePen so that we can play with it. I've also copy and pasted out the ratios here so that we can reuse them as we need, so we don't have to keep jumping back and forth. But same thing as before, we have our starter function, just like in Exorcism, and then the tests. Tests are a little bit different because we're only ever testing a specific thing. I've actually set it up as a loop just to make it a little bit more convenient, but it works pretty much the same. So if I run this right now, I'm going to get that error. Excellent. And if I just go ahead and return 0, we're going to see this light up red, okay? Excellent, right? We got the actual, we were expecting this, and that's for all of the different planets. No Pluto, because they got rid of that one. So, jumping right in, we're going to do this in a little bit of a test-driven way. And my understanding when I learned test-driven development was you do whatever you can to make it go green, right? It's red right now. You do whatever you can to make it go green. And the simplest way to do that is just to return the actual ratio, right? We have this right down here with our planet, okay? So our planet and our expected result. So we can cheat a little bit. And this is going to look really silly, but stay with me for a second because we have to do some stuff, okay? So I'm going to paste all that in, and I'm going to start using multiple cursors. Now, if you've never used multiple cursors in CodePen, it's not quite as easy as something like VS Code or something like that, where you can just Command D all the selections and it will light them up. Instead, we just hold down the Command key and we can get cursors everywhere, okay? Cursors all over the place, and that allows us to jump around and do our stuff. Excellent, okay? So what I want to do here is get rid of the seconds, obviously, okay? So we're going to click through all of the different seconds. There are 8 of them, just like that. We can hold down Command and jump to the start or the end of the line with the arrow keys, and then holding Shift and going up, we can delete that because we don't care about that part, okay? I do care about this, so I want to grab all of this for a second and cut it to the clipboard, okay? We're going to come back to to the expected in a second. I'm going to scroll up just so we can see it. And back here, we're going to set up an if statement, okay? So just like this, we have if. We're going to paste all that in there. And the nice thing is that it does paste the lines. So we are in really good shape here. And then we can go back to the start and change this to, we're going to call it planet, okay? Just like this, triple equals. So if planet equals Earth, then, again, holding down Command and going to the start of this line, okay? And then going here, highlighting the expected part, and typing return, okay? So here's our function. We do need to add an argument called planet, and we will be using time at some point because that gets passed inside of our thing. But right now, this is how we pass. This is very silly, but stay with me for a second. If we run this, we're going to clear out the console and run it, and we should get a pass. Oh, I have a comma somewhere. Where is it? Right. So all of these commas don't help us anymore. We need to get rid of them. Just like this. And now if I run it, it should pass. Good. Okay. So at this point, we have a passing test, which means our goal is to make sure that it passes from now on. Obviously, these numbers are not going to work for us if we pass in a different time. So that's where we need to start. Okay. And so we are going to change it to be the math, right? That's what we're going to do here. That math again is going to be these seconds. So Earth being the very first one, Earth being the very first one. I probably should have moved that down. Let's do that right now, actually. So I'm going to grab this, and holding down Option and down, it allows me to move lines. Earth being the third planet from the sun. And I'm going to do the same here, just so that we are squared away when we're doing multiple cursors. Excellent. Okay, so now they're in order. And we want to get these, the ratio, which is up here. Okay, so they're all in order here already. We just need to get that ratio, which means that we should get this this period here. So again, multiple cursors, click, 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 click. Excellent. We jump to the end of that using the Option key again. Option will allow us to jump a word at a time. Move one more. Holding on Shift Option, we can select a bunch of stuff at a time, which allows us to get those ratios. Okay. Copy. Excellent. Back down to our function. Here we go. Into the return. Click, click, click. All the way through. Doing this as quickly as possible. Perfect. Again, Option arrow to get to the end. Clear out all this stuff. And now we are going to do the math. Okay. The math is time divided by our ratio. Now, this isn't going to quite work for various reasons. The first one being that time, we get time as seconds, but we expect time as years, specifically Earth years. Okay. So right here, I'm going to change time to be that, exactly that. It's going to be time divided by 60 seconds times 60 minutes times 24 hours times 365. Oh, type it right. 365.25 days. Okay. Not exactly right. If you go and read the Exorcism article, it hints that different calendars adjust this slightly different. But for the practice of this challenge, this is what we're doing. Okay. We're leaving that as is. Now we have that time. We can pass it in. We can try it. It's still going to break, but not for the reason that you think. Okay. Instead, we actually get it right, but our rounding is off. We're only expecting two places after the decimal, and we get all of it, which is not what we want. So let's go and fix that. We click back into time, getting all of this just like this, and Option arrow to the left to get it all. Shift Command everything to get it the other way. If you're on Windows, you might have to use a slightly different command, but we can wrap this up. Okay. And then from there we go .toFixed. ToFixed is a method that allows us to take a string, to take a number and force it to be only a certain number of decimals, but it returns a string, which is a little bit odd. So 2 decimal places. Again, it's going to return a string. So if we run this right now, we're going to see somewhere down here. Where did it go? It works, but it's a string. We're expecting a number, so we need to do a little bit more. Again, one more time. Return, all the returns. Clicking through, doing the thing. And now right at the start of this, okay, we're going to select all again and wrap it up. And then we are going to go number dot parse float, okay? And parse float is going to take whatever that number is, or whatever that string is, and try to convert it to a number. So one more time, clear it out, run it, and we should get passing tests. Again, we're back to that green state, which is awesome, okay? Took us a few steps to get there, but it works. It works well, okay? This would solve the problem. There's nothing wrong with this. I do want to explore a couple different ways. So let's go and grab all of this. Oh, and that's not how I expected that to go. Let's try again. I accidentally hit an extra button there. It commented more. There we go. Okay, I want to try switching this to a switch statement, okay? Which means that all these ifs, I could have actually backed these out to be else if. It would not have changed anything. It still would have worked. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to change this to a switch statement, okay? So right up here, switch, we get that planet still. And all of this is going to go inside, okay? It's hard to see because I'm running out of room here, but there we go, okay? Now we need to change all of these if statements to be case statements. So we're going to go and grab all of those. There's a couple more, just like this. Again, option left arrow to get to the start. Holding option and shift to clean some of this out. We can back it up. We can go case, command arrow to get to the end, back it out, semicolon, okay? And we're in a pretty good spot. It's jumping around a little bit for formatting because we still have this final curly bracket. So if we get rid of that, everything should be okay. We can format this just to make sure. Excellent, okay? When we do switch, we should have some sort of a default. So let's go ahead and do that really fast. Default. We never actually reached this, so this isn't going to be used right now, but good practice, right? We should do this. So, whoops, I have these backwards. Throw new error. And we're going to set it to unknown planet. That way, if somebody sends Pluto in, right? Pluto isn't a planet anymore. We can throw an error. Now we run this. It should still work. And it does. This is great, right? We've already made it a little bit easier to read because all these if statements are kind of a wall of information. It's a little bit easier to scan the case statements. At least I think so, right? Everyone has their opinion. I think switch is really elegant for just scanning down the page, okay? We can refine this a little bit more. So if we go and grab this, these number parse, right? Very wordy. We don't actually need this. So we can go here, again, multiple cursors. Now we can actually see all of them on the page. Option arrow to get to the start, selecting all of that and replacing it with a plus sign. The plus sign automatically tries to coerce whatever is in here into a number. So this should just work. And it does. This red is CodePen breaking my heart every single video. Let's go and try again. Excellent. Okay. This is good. This is a nice, elegant solution. And there's not a lot wrong with this other than the fact that we have a lot of repeating code. There's a time in here. There's a to fixed over here, right? We repeat that all the way down. And so I think it would be a lot easier if we took this and made it its own object, okay? So right here, we are going to just grab all of this because that's what we can do and use multiple cursors up here as well. So const planets equals an object. Now this is going to be a hot mess, which is okay. We can get in here using our multiple cursors again and start changing stuff, okay? So again, backing out, jumping forward over here. And then this is going to be just the ratio, okay? We jump to the end of that, get rid of all of it, and finish with a comma, okay? If I tidy this up, it should clean it up nice. It does, okay? Now we're in a spot where we can actually do some other stuff, okay? Before doing that, though, I want to move this around because I actually got this wrong. I want this to be under. And I want to leave this one just so that we have an example for later, okay? Excellent, okay? Now we have these ratios and we are getting the planet information, which means that we can use our object. We can go in here, selecting time, multiple cursors, lots and lots of multiple cursors. We could do a find and replace on this maybe, but this is how I'm doing it today, okay? So this is going to be planet dot, we could go dot Mercury, right? We could go and manually add those in. Let's try it right now. Grabbing it, copy, bringing it back, going to the end of this. Oh, it's sometimes those cursors get mixed up, but that's okay. Just like this. If we run it, it should still pass. It doesn't. Ooh, it's not a number. What am I missing here? So plan, oh, I know why. Because I put planet and not planets, right? So clicking one more time, going to the end, adding that S, cleaning it out. That's why we have good tests, right? Good tests help us make sure that we get everything right. Everything is now passing. Now, I did say that this was not a great way to do this because we have access to planet up here, right? So we could actually just go and reuse that. Again, selecting all of these planets, dropping right down, going fast, the multiple cursors, taking forever, selecting all of this and square brackets, planet, okay? Planet, there it is. Run. And pass, okay? Now we definitely have a lot of repeating code, right? We have all of this in here, right? These are all the same line. So we need a better way. And we can do that just by now removing the switch statement, okay? So down here, going right up here, okay? And instead of that switch statement, we are going to use a loop, okay? A loop for the second. We're going to search for that planet inside of planets like this. And if I call globe, because we're starting to mix up our names here. So if globe equals planet, singular, then we do all of this, okay? Paste it in. Let's ditch the switch. There we go. We did lose our error state. We'll come back to that in a second. But now, hopefully this just works. It does, okay? In fact, we can go further because I purposely added that for loop in, and we do not need it, okay? Finding the globe in planets, that kind of happens down here. So we can actually bump this straight up, whoops, using that command to move our lines around. We can delete the for, we can delete the if, because neither one is actually doing anything for us. And now we can run it. Which means that now we are in an awesome state. We have gone from so many lines all the way down to just 2 lines. This is a good place. And what I want to do is I want to leave you with some additional tests. Because right now, what we're testing for is very specific. It's very lowercase, right? It is a very specific selection. Our tests match our object way up here. Okay. In fact, let's. I'm just going to leave that there. But yeah, our tests match our object. So now we've been testing the happy path. We need to test the not so happy path. Okay. We do that by updating the test. So if I go to Earth, copy this and paste it in, but if I capitalize Earth, what should happen, right? The answer is that it breaks. So we get that, and the capital E Earth should return this. It returns not a number. We have a failing test, okay? With test-driven development, we always start by writing the test, and that's what we've done here. But now we can go and fix it. So right here, I'm going to grab this again, bring it down, and we can fix that. We always want it to be lowercase. So that planet equals planet dot to lowercase. Oh, the star, that's weird. Okay. We run it and we get a passing test. The other thing that I want to do is I want to bring back the thrown error, right? Because what happens if I pass in a test that doesn't exist? And for this, unfortunately, I need to write a brand new test because we're going to catch that thrown error. We're going to test for that thrown error. So let's do that. Way down here, after all of it, I'm going to add a new block, okay? That new block is going to have our try catch. So just like this. If you watched my previous video, you'll know that this allows us to catch that error state and then test against it, which is awesome. We are going to need a title, so let's go and get that. In fact, we're going to use all of this in various places. Paste it in here, start moving stuff around. This line goes way up here. Oh, it's jumping around because fun times. Okay. Slide my cursors around, but changing the test, so should throw errors for Pluto, right? For unknown planet, okay? That expected is right here. That expected is our error state, which we have not added, but let's go and add it now. So it's going to be unknown planet, okay? Our actual comes from the error, so we can actually grab that right here. It's going to be on error.message. And now our expected equals actual right here. Perfect. We have a good solid test, okay? Up here, we need to fire our actual test. That's going to be all of this. We don't actually care about the result of this, so we can just paste in age, and we're looking for Pluto, and then just button mash the numbers. The numbers don't actually matter. So if this works, we should get a thrown error of unknown test. We will not, okay? And we won't because we haven't actually wrote that, okay? We have a bit of a broken assertion here where this always kind of passes. So what we should do, including tabbing in, is we should do one more assertion right behind here, okay? And this assertion, if we get here, again, I've talked about this before, but if we get through this function, if we return anything and it falls through to this next bit, it should be false, okay? And it should be false because we should never get here, right? We are testing the thrown error. If we get here, it means that age, this function, passed, and that is a bad deal, right? Even if Pluto becomes a planet in the future, we want to know that now our test is passing when it should be failing, okay? Or know that our function is working when it should be throwing. That's the words I'm looking for, okay? So again, adding a helpful message in here that says passed but should have thrown, okay? Excellent. So now when we run this, it is going to fail. Excellent. We have a failing test. Let's go and fix it, right? That's the whole point of this. All the way up here. And we want to test that right here, okay? So if planet in planets, okay? So we're testing to see if it's in the planets, but we don't want the truthy value. Instead, we want the falsy value. So we're going to wrap it up and flip it. And now we can throw that error. So throw new error, unknown planet, because that's what we did below. If we run this, everything should pass again, okay? Just like this. It absolutely does. That's brilliant. We can test it If our error state changes because somebody's refactoring the message, we get it changed. That's great. And if by some chance Pluto again becomes a planet, right? Just like Earth, as an example, then we should get a failure too, but for different reasons, right? Past when it should have thrown. So, bringing it all home, what have we done today? Well, we started out by taking this information and doing it the very hard way. In fact, I did not keep that, right? We started out by just returning the actual numbers from the test, which is very test-driven development. It's doing whatever you can to go to green and then staying there, right? That's the whole point, is you do whatever you need to make sure that your tests pass, and then you refactor to get it to a really good spot. And that's kind of what we did. We started out by returning those hard-coded values, and then we converted it to actually use our math. And we did have to jump through some hoops here because we only want 2 decimal places, but toFix returns a string, right? So at that point, we do this. Could we have used rounding, right? Yes, we could. We could have multiplied by, 100, and then rounded it and divided by 100. All roads lead to Rome in this case, okay? This is the version that I picked. We started out with a bunch of if statements. We changed to a switch statement. I was about to say we switched to a switch statement. That's a mouthful. We changed to a switch statement, got it done. We added a default state, which we never actually reached because we didn't have a test for that. We wrote the test later. Refining it, refactoring it, right? Changing it up, trying to make it a little bit easier to read. We switched out the planets to their own thing, which makes it really easy. As an example, maybe Pluto becomes something later on, right? And that factor can be whatever. Now we have it. We have a really easy maintenance path, okay? So get rid of this for a second. From there, we started using that. We used it directly, and then we used the variable that was passed in. And then finally, we got rid of the switch statement completely and used that line in a very simple way, okay? Where we finished is we added more tests. So these tests weren't part of exorcism.org. I chose to add these because they are edge cases, and we should test the unhappy paths, right? We've been testing the happy path. Our object of planets is exactly the same as our object of planet results. That's not going to fly. We need more. So we tested for capital letters right here, and down here with a capital E, Earth. And then we tested for error states to make sure that if we pass in a planet that doesn't actually exist in our object, we're returning good messages. So that's it. That's the whole challenge. And if you take this right now and paste it into exorcism.org, it should work, right? They are not going to test the thrown error, but at least you can be confident that your test is solid. Did you do it a different way? Please hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of all this, especially the error handling. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.